Have you ever wondered what it takes to command an empire while remaining unshakably calm, clear-headed, and free from the chaos of desire, envy, and distraction? Imagine walking through the streets of ancient Rome, surrounded by opulence, politics, and ceaseless demands, and yet finding a mental sanctuary where nothing external can disturb your peace. This wasn't luck. It was a way of life, a mindset forged in simplicity, self-discipline, and profound clarity. Marcus Aurelius, known to the world as a Stoic emperor, mastered this extraordinary balance, and his mind holds lessons that can transform your modern life. In this video, we'll uncover the psychology behind Marcus Aurelius' extreme clarity, exploring how Stoic minimalism shaped his thoughts, decisions, and leadership. You'll see how intentional simplicity isn't about deprivation. It's about mental freedom, emotional resilience, and the ability to act with purpose in every moment. Stick around, because the principles we'll reveal aren't just historical curiosities. They are practical strategies you can use to live with less clutter, more focus, and a calm that even modern chaos cannot shake. In the midst of relentless responsibility, Marcus Aurelius found a way to treat each moment not as a fleeting fragment of life, but as a treasure of unparalleled value. For an emperor surrounded by advisors, battles, and the ceaseless noise of politics, it would have been easy to be consumed, to let the hours slip like sand through his fingers. Yet, Marcus cultivated a remarkable habit. He approached his day with deliberate attention, pruning away distractions and focusing only on what truly mattered. His mind became a garden where each thought was examined, each action measured, and every choice weighed against the pursuit of virtue and clarity. This is the essence of Stoic minimalism, learning that the vast external world, with its endless demands and superficial allure, is less important than the cultivation of an inner sanctuary. By simplifying his mental landscape, Marcus could act decisively, unclouded by fear, desire, or the insatiable urge for approval. He recognized that time wasted on trivialities is time stolen from the deeper work of reflection, self-improvement, and service. Unlike many who succumb to the constant pull of modern distractions, Marcus treated life as finite and precious, a principle that resonates even more profoundly today. He wrote in his meditations not to postpone reflection, to examine himself daily, and to meet adversity with calm and clarity. Each morning became an exercise in aligning priorities with purpose, a mental decluttering that ensured his energy went toward the essential rather than the ephemeral. In modern terms, this approach is a masterclass in intentional living. We often equate productivity with busy schedules, endless scrolling, and reactive living. Yet Marcus' method teaches that profound effectiveness comes from focus, deliberate simplicity, and clarity of mind. By stripping away excess, he allowed the mind to breathe, emotions to settle, and decisions to arise from reason rather than impulse. His leadership was not a byproduct of brute power or authority, but of the disciplined mind that had learned to manage itself. In observing his life, we see a blueprint for anyone seeking calm amid chaos, a model where simplicity fosters resilience, where minimalism is not mere aesthetics, but the foundation of mastery over time, thought, and life itself. Once Marcus Aurelius had mastered the rhythm of time, he turned his attention inward, building what he famously described as an inner citadel, a fortress of the mind impervious to the chaos of the outside world. While emperors before him had relied on armies and alliances, Marcus relied on the deliberate cultivation of simplicity and mental discipline. Every thought he entertained, every emotion he allowed to linger, was weighed against the principle of reason and virtue. In the midst of luxury, power, and expectation, he discovered that true strength was not wielded externally, but cultivated quietly within, through the removal of unnecessary desires and attachments. This, at its essence, is Stoic minimalism, the art of stripping life down to the essentials, not in possessions alone, but in thought, emotion, and intention. Marcus' inner citadel was not a rigid retreat from reality. It was a dynamic space where challenges could be observed with calm and clarity. When betrayal threatened the court, when plague or rebellion swept the provinces, when the weight of responsibility pressed on his shoulders, his mind remained anchored. By practicing simplicity in thought, he cultivated resilience against fear, envy, and the fleeting allure of indulgence. The Stoic emperor understood that external events were beyond his control. The only domain he could govern fully was his own mind. Every morning reflection, every line in his meditations, was a reinforcement of this principle, a methodical stripping away of mental clutter to reveal the essence of what it meant to act rightly, wisely, and with composure. For us today, this principle resonates deeply. In a world of constant notifications, endless comparisons, and the pressure to consume more than necessary, Marcus' inner citadel offers a blueprint for freedom. Simplicity becomes not an aesthetic, but a shield. Emotional clarity emerges not from distraction, but from the deliberate pruning of what does not serve our purpose. Stoic minimalism transforms the ordinary mind into a disciplined instrument, capable of navigating complexity with serenity. By observing Marcus Aurelius' life, we learn that true leadership, enduring peace, and personal mastery are born not from external triumphs, but from the quiet power of a mind that has learned to embrace less in order to gain far more. As Marcus Aurelius cultivated his inner citadel, he recognized that desire, left unchecked, could corrode the mind with distraction and discontent. Yet he did not seek to extinguish desire entirely. Instead, he transformed it into a tool, a means to focus energy on what was meaningful rather than surrendering to fleeting impulses. This is a core principle of Stoic minimalism, understanding that our attachments and cravings are not inherently evil, but that they can be tamed, measured, and directed toward growth. In the bustling courts of Rome, where wealth, status, and power competed like waves against the shore, Marcus maintained a remarkable clarity, choosing to engage only with what aligned with virtue and purpose. Every decision, whether in governance or personal reflection, was filtered through this lens. Extravagance, indulgence, and social comparison were distractions, not necessities. By simplifying his wants, he freed cognitive space to act decisively, to reflect deeply, and to respond thoughtfully to the pressures of leadership. The meditations reveal this approach repeatedly. He reminds himself that wealth, comfort, and fame are fleeting, and that attachment to them only invites suffering. In modern terms, Marcus' mindset is a lesson in intentional living, showing that true freedom emerges not from accumulating more, but from wanting less. The less the mind chases after unnecessary objects or recognition, the greater its capacity to engage with reality, to solve problems, and to cultivate genuine happiness and simplicity. For those of us navigating the complexities of contemporary life, Marcus Aurelius' mastery over desire provides a striking model. In a culture where excess is normalized and distraction is constant, he shows us the psychological power of restraint. By consciously limiting the influence of desire, he demonstrated that minimalism is not merely a lifestyle choice. It is a philosophy of thought, an emotional architecture that fosters resilience, focus, and inner peace. Stoic minimalism teaches that when desire serves the mind, rather than the other way around, clarity and freedom become not abstract ideals, but tangible, lived experiences. Marcus Aurelius understood that the external world, with all its noise and ceaseless demands, could never provide lasting guidance or peace. Instead, he turned inward, using reflection as a powerful instrument to cultivate mental clarity and emotional balance. Each day, amidst the duties of empire, he dedicated time to examine his thoughts, evaluate his actions, and refine his intentions. This deliberate practice of introspection was not merely a philosophical exercise. It was the cornerstone of Stoic minimalism, a way to strip away internal clutter and illuminate the mind's essential truths. By recording his observations in the Meditations, Marcus transformed reflection into a living tool, a mirror through which he could confront weakness, refine virtue, and anchor his decisions in reason rather than impulse. In these quiet moments, the emperor faced the raw complexities of human nature: pride, anger, fear, and ambition. Rather than suppressing these emotions, he observed them carefully, identifying their sources and learning to let them pass without granting them power over his actions. In doing so, Marcus created a mental environment where the mind was free to operate with precision and focus, where clarity arose not from external circumstances, but from disciplined awareness. This is the essence of Stoic minimalism. It is not about removing everything from life, but about removing everything that clouds judgment, clouds the mind, and diminishes the capacity to act with purpose. For modern audiences, the lesson is profound. In a world dominated by constant notifications, endless choices, and the subtle tyranny of overthinking, Marcus' practice of reflection provides a model for mental sovereignty. By carving out space to observe, evaluate, and realign, we too can cultivate a mind that is calm, resilient, and unshaken by superficial pressures. The quiet power of reflection teaches that simplicity is not external alone. It is internal, residing in the deliberate management of thoughts, the cultivation of perspective, and the ability to meet each challenge with composure. Marcus Aurelius' inner life shows that the greatest victories often occur not on battlefields or in grand palaces, but in the quiet, disciplined theater of the mind, where simplicity and clarity reign supreme. Marcus Aurelius' life offers a profound paradox: that true freedom arises not from indulgence or the absence of restraint, but from the deliberate exercise of discipline. Amid the splendor and complexity of the Roman Empire, the emperor chose a path of simplicity and self-regulation, understanding that ungoverned impulses enslave the mind far more than chains or political threats ever could. Stoic minimalism, as he practiced it, was less about scarcity and more about intentional governance of thought, desire, and action. By reducing mental and emotional clutter, Marcus cultivated a space in which reason could prevail and choices could be made from strength rather than compulsion. Every day, he trained himself to act with purpose, to meet adversity without panic, and to approach every obligation with calm focus. Whether he was attending to the affairs of the empire or walking quietly in contemplation, his self-discipline shaped a life of profound effectiveness. This discipline was not rigid or joyless. It was a liberation from the chaos of distraction, a means of ensuring that external events could not dictate his inner state. In modern terms, Marcus' example teaches that intentional habits, thoughtful limits, and deliberate focus are the true foundations of freedom. By imposing structure upon himself, he gained the liberty to think clearly, act decisively, and navigate complexity without compromise. In our own lives, constantly bombarded by stimuli, obligations, and competing desires, the lessons of Marcus Aurelius remain strikingly relevant. Discipline is not punishment. It is a framework that allows the mind to breathe, the emotions to settle, and priorities to emerge with clarity. Stoic minimalism transforms this discipline into a tool of liberation, teaching us to say no to what distracts and yes to what aligns with purpose. Marcus' life demonstrates that freedom is cultivated internally through deliberate simplification and rigorous self-mastery, revealing that the power to live with intention, serenity, and clarity resides not in wealth, status, or comfort, but in the disciplined care of the mind. Marcus Aurelius understood that the mind is the lens through which all experience is filtered, and that clarity arises not from controlling the world, but from mastering perception. He recognized that external events, political intrigue, military crises, or the fleeting opinions of others, are inherently neutral. It is our judgment of them that shapes suffering or serenity. Through the lens of Stoic minimalism, he cultivated the habit of observing life with detachment, measuring every impression against reason and virtue rather than impulse or desire. In doing so, he transformed perception itself into a tool of freedom, a means to maintain composure amidst the storm of empire and expectation. In practice, this meant that Marcus did not allow praise, criticism, or circumstance to dictate his inner state. He reframed challenges as opportunities for growth, setbacks as lessons in resilience, and obligations as arenas for the exercise of virtue. This mental discipline, born of simplicity and deliberate focus, created a remarkable clarity of thought, where decisions were guided by principle rather than reaction. It is a form of extreme mental minimalism. By reducing the noise of judgment, envy, and distraction, the mind becomes capable of profound insight, deliberate action, and lasting tranquility. For modern life, Marcus Aurelius' mastery over perception is both radical and deeply practical. We live in a culture of constant input, notifications, opinions, and pressures all competing for attention. By training the mind to perceive clearly, to filter external noise, and to respond from a space of calm reasoning, we emulate the mental architecture of the Stoic emperor. Stoic minimalism is not about rejecting the world. It is about engaging with it deliberately, choosing what to internalize, and maintaining an inner sanctuary unshaken by superficial turbulence. Marcus' example reminds us that clarity, focus, and emotional resilience are cultivated from within, through conscious perception, and that the true power of simplicity lies in its ability to shape not only our surroundings, but the very way we interpret the world around us. Marcus Aurelius did not simply seek clarity of mind or freedom from distraction for its own sake. He pursued a life of deliberate purpose. Every decision, every action, every reflection was aligned with the pursuit of virtue, wisdom, and the greater good of those he led. Stoic minimalism, as he practiced it, was never an abstract philosophy. It was a lived experience, a practical framework for aligning thought, emotion, and action with what truly matters. By removing excess from his mental and emotional life, he could channel his energy toward meaningful endeavors, ensuring that his influence, leadership, and legacy were shaped by intention rather than impulse. In the bustling courts of Rome, where indulgence, status, and fleeting pleasures beckoned constantly, Marcus' adherence to simplicity allowed him to act with a rare precision. He understood that purpose emerges not from abundance, but from careful selection, the conscious prioritization of values, relationships, and duties that resonate with the core of one's being. This deliberate minimalism extended beyond possessions or comfort. It was a practice of living consciously, of choosing actions that foster growth, resilience, and genuine impact. The emperor's life illustrates that by simplifying the mind and stripping away what is unnecessary, one can create space for clarity, focus, and profound fulfillment. For us today, Marcus Aurelius' approach is strikingly relevant. In a world of endless options, social pressures, and the subtle tyranny of distraction, his life teaches that simplicity is the gateway to purpose. Stoic minimalism transforms the cluttered, reactive mind into a disciplined, deliberate instrument capable of meaningful action. By embracing the principles Marcus exemplified, reflection, restraint, and focus on what is essential, we cultivate a life where our choices are guided by reason, our energy is reserved for what truly matters, and our legacy is defined not by accumulation, but by the quality of our actions. In essence, living with purpose through minimalism is not a limitation. It is the ultimate freedom, a life lived intentionally, deeply, and fully aligned with timeless wisdom. Marcus Aurelius' life teaches us that clarity, freedom, and resilience are born not from external circumstance, but from the deliberate cultivation of the mind. By embracing Stoic minimalism, simplifying desires, mastering perception, and living with purpose, we uncover a path toward mental serenity, emotional strength, and intentional action. His example reminds us that in a world overflowing with distraction and excess, the greatest power lies in the ability to focus on what truly matters, to act from reason rather than impulse, and to create a life aligned with core principles rather than fleeting pressures. If this journey through the mind of a Stoic emperor has inspired you, there is much more to explore. On this channel, you'll find other immersive guides to simplicity, focus, and intentional living, including deep explorations of corporate minimalism, where clarity meets strategy, and hollow-era minimalism, which reveals how radical reduction transforms everyday life. Each playlist offers practical wisdom and timeless principles, helping you cultivate mental freedom, focus, and purpose in your own life. Take a moment to dive deeper, explore these ideas, and see how Stoic minimalism and other minimalist philosophies can reshape your approach to time, thought, and action. Your path to clarity and intentional living begins here, one insight at a time, as you bring ancient wisdom into your modern world.